much, Tiffany, and good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are certainly excited to be able to announce this new offering that we have with several new leadership training courses. I hope that wherever you are joining us from this morning is nice and cool. And we're going to take a little bit of time to explain what these courses are, how they came about, and give you some opportunities to ask some questions at the end. So if you're not familiar with Polaris MEP, I know many of you are, but if you are not, the MEP in our name stands for Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And that's because we are a part of the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And as a nonprofit consulting firm in the state of Rhode Island, our charter is to work with manufacturers here in the state of Rhode Island to help your business in several different areas, one of which is leadership training that we're going to talk about today, but also in a wide variety of other areas as well. And if you have any questions there, please feel free to reach out at the end also. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about leadership development, because this has become a really, really hot topic, especially in the manufacturing industry as well as all over. And why specifically should you invest in leadership development? Well, it's an investment in your culture and also in your company's success. So what many companies have found, when they invest in leadership development, they see better business results. They're able to meet and track their strategy goals. They're able to move into those new markets or get through that new product development or whatever they may have on their plate at the moment. They're able to scale and grow. We work with so many companies from their initial starting in manufacturing when they're making those first few pieces all the way up until they're able to move into a bigger space and really start to move into different and diverse markets so they can scale and grow. You experience reduced attrition. So we've all heard the phrase, people quit bosses, not jobs. So investing in leadership development helps give people the tools and the skills to be able to lead and manage teams in a way that motivates people, in a way that provides excellent morale in the factory. And it allows leaders in the company to take that step back and work on their business. So often leaders are hands-on. They're part of the process that gets those products out the door tonight, tomorrow, the rest of the week. And they don't have that time to take a step back and look forward and say, are we heading in the right direction? So having a good leadership plan in place, a good succession plan for when leaders come up on retirement, et cetera, allows you to take that step back and work on your business. So what I'd like to do this morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about Development Dimensions International, DDI, which is the company we partner with to offer these training programs. And these are world-class training programs put on by DDI. We have an existing, and some of you may be familiar with it, frontline leadership training program. And this is something that we started 3 years ago. So in 2021, for many companies, just starting to get their legs back under them, coming off a pandemic year, trying to figure out how are we going to move forward. And we had a lot of requests for frontline leadership training. So we partnered with Development Dimensions International. We've since offered that frontline leadership training, and I'll explain a little bit about what that looks like, but we've offered it since several times, all with great reviews and great feedback from the companies who have gone through it. Of course, today we want to talk about our latest and greatest, the new mid-level leader training program. So an extension to that frontline leader training program. Now let's focus on the folks who are department heads, managers, folks who are a little bit more responsibility on their plate as far as the business is concerned. And then, of course, in the end, happy to answer any of your questions that you may have. Okay, maybe you've heard of DDI, maybe you've not. If you subscribe to our newsletter, if you visit our website, certainly you'll see reference to it. Again, 3 years ago, we started this program to much success. So DDI is a global leadership consulting firm. Okay, they work with organizations in many different ways, one of which is to provide leadership training opportunities. Another one is to create assessment programs that you can use, interview skills and interview programs. We have partnered with them on their leadership development courses that they offer. They have been around for more than 5 decades. Their research and experience in the science of leadership And the studies that they do are really, really great in terms of reading and learning material. So if you have a chance, I would recommend going to their website to take a look at some of that research that they've done. But we, Polaris MEP, are proud to be partners with them, and our staff is certified to facilitate their award-winning leadership programs, which is what we're here to talk about today. So just a couple of highlights. I mentioned that DDI does some leadership studies. They do an annual leadership study, and it goes out to about 1,500 different people. And I just want to highlight a couple of the top concerns, a couple of the top issues that they found in 2023, last year, when they ran the study. And one of them is the top CEO concerns. So they asked CEOs in various industries, what are the 3 things or the 4 or 5 things that are keeping you awake at night? And this is what they found. And you can see the top 3 highlighted here on your screen: attracting and retaining top talent. I think if we were to put a poll up right now with the folks on this call this morning, you may all agree that attracting and retaining top talent is something that's high on your plan, or at least on the back of your mind. The next one, developing that next generation of leaders. So often, especially in manufacturing, we go into companies and we will see where sometimes we've got team members who are on their way to retirement. We have team members who are on their way to what have you, and there's just not enough new talent coming in the door. Very hard to get that attraction and that retaining of top talent. And then maintaining an engaged workforce, right? Maintaining that shop floor morale, making it so the team is motivated to achieve the goals. Those are the top 3 concerns that CEOs listed, as well as some others you can read there. But thought it was very interesting that the top 3 kind of lent themselves around what we're talking about today, which has to do with leadership. Another question they had, I wanted to point out, was leader quality ratings. Okay, so this is the percentage of leaders who rate their organization's leader quality very good or excellent. So basically what they said to all the people taking this survey: how would you rate your organization's overall leadership? And it's, excellent, very good, good, fair, poor. Okay, and this is what they found as far as who said very good or excellent. And they noticed that it's the biggest drop in a decade in terms of the number of respondents who would rate their organization's leadership as either very good or excellent. So there's a story there. There's something further that we need to uncover and take a look at. And here's another finding that they had: a critical gap persisting for 5 skills leaders need to develop. And you can see the 5 skills below, one of which is identifying and developing future talent. So we've got on top the percentage of leaders who say it's critical to develop this skill. Okay, so the majority think that way. And then the percentage of leaders on the bottom who have already received that training, and you can see the gap, right? And it's quite a large gap. And again, this is from the 1,500 plus respondents who took this survey last year. But when it comes to things like influencing others, and we're going to talk about that specifically, and decision-making, we'll talk about that as well. Okay, there's a definite gap there. So as you sit and you're watching this morning, you can think about your own organization, and do we have a plan in place for identifying and developing that future talent? Are we managing change successfully? And how well do our team members do with influencing others to achieve a goal? Because those are all the things we want to talk about today. And we've mentioned culture a few times already this morning, and I just wanted to put a dear old quote by Peter Drucker that many of you have probably heard: in that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So it's fine to sit around the conference room table and talk about the 3-year strategy and the 5-year strategy. In fact, I encourage that. But we can't lose sight of the fact that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can come out of that conference room with the best laid plans, but if you don't have a motivated team to carry that forth, it's going to be a difficult journey. So I mentioned that we already offer a frontline leadership training program, and we've had much success with it. So about 3 years ago, we partnered with Development Dimensions International in response to requests from manufacturers like yourself, who called us and said, you know, we identified a need for when we take that really skilled operator or that really skilled technician or that really skilled inspector, and we promote that person into a team lead position or an assistant supervisor or a supervisory role. And they have excellent technical skills, but they may or may not come with those soft skills, those people skills. They may focus a little bit too much on the job itself and not enough on managing the team. You know, what do you, Polaris MEP, have to offer? And that's where we came up with this suite of products. So for our frontline leadership training program, again, this is for team leads and supervisors, those folks on the floor who are managing the work. We've got topics such as coaching to move people forward. We have communication, connect through conversations. That is a pretty popular course with us. Driving change. Is your business stagnant? I don't think so. It's constantly moving. You're taking on new products, new markets, etc. You're expanding. You have to have change through your organization. Is your team equipped to drive that through to the front line? Resolving workplace conflict. Every time I teach this course, I get a lot of great feedback for a few reasons. One, it's something that everybody is going to deal with. Let me say that again. They are going to deal with it. Two, they come out and they tell me, you know, Chris, I had an idea of what to expect when I took that course, but this was totally different than what I was thinking of. And it's a lot more effective than what I was thinking of. So a lot of great feedback on that. Delegation, engaging and empowering people. Another issue when we take the really skilled operator, the really skilled inspector, that really skilled technician, and we promote them, it can be really hard to give up that work because they know it so well. They do it so well. It's comfortable. So they tend to do it. So how do you delegate? What are some of the ways that you can build that trust with your team, that you can provide that training and start to hand off those tasks? That's a really important course as fed to us by a lot of the manufacturers. And then, of course, addressing core performance. So this can be another difficult area, very similar to resolving workplace conflict. Nobody likes the difficult conversations, but you are going to have them as a leader in your career. And we do a really nice job of explaining how to go about having that conversation so that both parties walk away feeling mutually respected and feeling like they're equipped with the tools to be able to improve and be successful at the end of the day. So again, this is something we've had for 3 years now. I've done it at probably greater than a dozen companies, really great feedback. I've gone into companies multiple times in some cases as they continue to promote from within, as they continue to hire and to increase their staff as they grow. This is something that's constantly being asked of us, and we're very pleased to be able to continue to offer it. So now, why are we here today? Well, in addition to frontline leadership offerings, Development Dimensions International offers a mid-level leadership training program. And this program is geared more towards the department heads, the managers, okay, the production managers, the purchasing managers, the HR managers, the engineering managers, okay, those folks who have, considerably more, we'll call it autonomy, considerably more responsibility, may or may not be hands-on on the floor, but are certainly responsible for meeting the needs of the customer at the end of the day, as well as taking into consideration the resources of the business and that fine balancing act that we're all tasked with between meeting the needs of the customer and managing the resources of the business. So we've recently started to get some feedback from manufacturers here in Rhode Island to say, frontline leadership, it's great, it's wonderful. What do you have for that next step? What can we do for our mid-level leaders and our management team when we come out of the conference room and we've got that 3-year strategy or we have that 5-year strategy? How do we get them engaged? How do we get them to understand where they need to then go and drive their teams to drive change through the organization? And that's where this came up. So what we've done is we've offered 2 tracks. We have a leadership development track again, for these department heads, managers, mid-level managers, and we have an execution track. And each track consists of 3 different courses that I'd like to talk about this morning. And you can elect to go through one or both tracks. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's all about building strategic partnerships and relationships within the organization. Okay, so that means engineering working together with production, working together with quality. I know it can happen, believe me. So we want to build those strategic alliances and partnerships with the other leaders inside the organization, as well as with partners outside, our vendors, our customers, any regulatory, statutory agencies, third-party agencies. We want to really make sure that we're strategic with our alliances with them so we can be successful. Okay, again, these are brand new and we're excited to offer them today. So let me introduce to you the 2 tracks that we have come up with. The leadership development track, again, mid-level management, coaching for high performance, developing organizational talent, and influencing for organizational impact. I'm going to talk a little bit more briefly about each of those and what to expect from them. But those are the 3 courses that we have selected, again, from DDI to be able to offer to our manufacturers here in Rhode Island. On the execution side, we have mastering decision dynamics. How many decisions as a leader in an organization are you faced with each and every day? How many of those are critical? How many of those are not critical? When you think about the Eisenhower matrix or the 2x2 matrix, urgent versus important. How do we balance that? How do we use that to our advantage? Making change happen. Nobody likes change. It's human nature. But change is a necessity in business because if you don't change, your competition will change and then they're going to eat your lunch. So how do we make change happen as leaders in an organization? And then the capstone for the execution track is translating strategy into results. So I've mentioned a few times now, going into the conference room or offsite or wherever a team goes, and they come out of there with a really well-laid 3-year, 5-year strategy. But how do we turn that into results? Where do we go from there? How do we align our tactical strategy to meet that overall strategy? And that's a really nice course to be able to do that. So just looking at these a little bit, high level, what to expect from them on the leadership side, coaching for high performance, higher level coaching opportunities that provide significant payoff. Coaching opportunities come at all different points throughout our day. It could be somebody grabbing us in a hallway. It could be somebody sending us an email. It could be a phone call. They are all opportunities for us to coach others. People have questions. People have uncertainties. People lack confidence sometimes in an area and just need that little boost. How can we help those team members succeed? Advanced skills for more collaborative and rewarding coaching discussions. Okay, helping to drive execution, helping to ensure that we achieve our business goals together, again, as a team. And how do we build and sustain a coaching culture? How do we make it so that everybody within our organization knows that it's important when there's a team member who has a question or a team member who needs some advice or some help, that we make ourselves available to them and that we're able to help them? And what does that do as far as building trust and confidence? Developing organizational talent, we want to recognize how to achieve the highest payoff in developing others. What does that balance look like? And there's a 3-phase process that we're going to look at. We're going to assess our current organizational talent. We're going to acquire the skills and the abilities that we need based on a gap analysis, and then we'll apply those. And we want to measure and provide feedback on the effectiveness and the impact of our development efforts. So oftentimes manufacturers tell us our company lacks in feedback. We don't provide enough feedback, or we're not providing effective feedback. So that's something that we really want to hone in on when we talk about developing organizational talent. Influencing for organizational impact. This is going to give us those strategies to help us achieve our business results, much like the other courses. It's going to move people to take action. Okay, How often does it happen when we're on the factory floor and we have to direct a team or have something that came up and the response is, oh, something else now. What else are we going to have to do? And how many times are we going to change this production schedule, et cetera? How can we move people to take action? How can we get them to see this is important for the business? And that equates to, an important role for us. We'll learn techniques to engage people both emotionally and rationally. So people come into work every day, they have an emotional need. Okay, they want to feel valued, they want to feel respected, they want to feel listened to. And they've got that rational need. They want to be able to perform the work. They want to have the skills and the abilities for them to be successful. So we'll talk about those two different tracks that we as leaders need to be mindful of, and in fact need to tap into in order to be successful. Change or reinforce perceptions to gain commitment. A lot of times in business, when there's change, it's not explained, or it's not explained well, and it leaves the team to fill in the gaps. And sometimes if we just let the team know, this is why we're doing this, this is why it's important, they say, oh, okay, I get it now, I understand, that makes sense. But a lot of times that communication is just lacking, and it can throw an entire team off. So how do we change or reinforce those perceptions and gain that commitment, and then capture people's attention and make things happen, right? As a leader, you want to be persuasive. You want to be somebody that people want to listen to and understand. You want to be somebody that people feel like they can approach and have a conversation with, or feel comfortable to ask questions of. And that is what we'll go through with influencing for organizational impact. So again, our leadership track, 3 courses. And these courses, if you're wondering ahead of time, these courses can vary from about 4 hours to 6 hours in length. We can set that up however works best for your company. But that is our leadership track. Now, taking a look at the execution track, we have mastering decision dynamics. This one was brought up specifically by a few manufacturers who said, what do you have, or what is out there to help those leaders in our organization to be able to do this? Because all too often, projects get stalled, change gets stalled, things get stalled because people aren't sure, they're having trouble with making those decisions, they're having trouble with the autonomy. They want to get a lot of feedback, and then even after getting feedback, they stall. What do you have that can help with that? And that's how we identified this course. So we want to recognize the presence of complex dynamics that can negatively impact business decisions. Okay, and it could be a lack of confidence. It could be a lack of autonomy. It could be unclear direction. So how do we overcome that as an organization? How do we have those conversations to help us overcome that? Applying decision-making discipline to manage biases. Okay, so it's very easy for one department to say, this is good for our department, this is what we should do. And there's a little thing that we talk about when we talk about Six Sigma. We talk about optimizing the process and sub-optimizing the system. So maybe we took something and made it really great, and in doing so, we created a bullwhip effect further up the chain, or some other sub-optimization of our entire overall process. So how do we apply that decision-making discipline to manage those biased decisions that may creep up based on our role within the organization, based on our past experience? And then how do we diagnose past decisions? How do we coach others in making decisions? Do we have after action reviews or something along those lines that takes that step back to say, how did we do here? What can we learn for future endeavors? What can we take from this and apply to make us better going forward? So we'll talk about how do we do that as an organization, as a team. We have making change happen. I mentioned people don't like change. It's human nature, but you have to change in business or somebody else is going to change for you. So drive change by understanding the importance of involving stakeholders and building buy-in. I mentioned, and we simply do not have the time this morning for me to regale you with the stories that I've come across over the past few years, but I have mentioned where companies have made change and not involve the stakeholders, not sought the buy-in, not even explain why they're doing it. And that can lead teams to come up with their own ideas, their own opinions. That can allow the rumor mill to start turning, okay? And it can cause morale to go down. So how do we involve the stakeholders? How do we identify the stakeholders? How do we involve them? And then how do we help get that buy-in? We want to look at how do we improve the understanding and the ability to leverage insights. So a lot of times there's a great idea, a really great plan, and we get the team together and talk about it, and there's that one person who raises their hand and says, I like it. Have we thought about this? And everybody in the room realizes at once, oh, we hadn't considered that. Oh, that wasn't part of our plan. Good thing we're thinking about this now. And before we've spent how much money, how much time, how much investment into whatever it was, only to find out that we can't do it, okay? So we want to get the team involved to get their insights, because every once in a while, there's going to be somebody who has something that we didn't think of as a team, and it's very important. And of course, lastly, enhancing skills in leading and motivating others. We need the team. We have to be able to count on our team to be able to drive this change throughout the organization. Management is getting things done through other people. So we have to make sure that we're leading and motivating others, so that when we have those conversations, when we announce those changes, they're on board, they're ready to go. Let me know what we need to do. And we work together from there. So very important. And then I had mentioned our capstone course for all of this, translating strategy into results. So again, leadership, company ownership, they build the plan, they build the strategy. We want to be operating in X industry. We want to be operating in these new markets. We want to have these new product developments offered. Wherever we want to be in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, they'll come out of that conference room and they'll have those notes and they'll present it to those mid-level managers and say, okay, this is what we want to do. Take it from here. And a lot of times that becomes the struggle. So how do we take that? How do we develop those tactical plans, those 0 to 1 year plans where we can put them in action right away? How do we know what's required to successfully implement that strategy? Okay. Do we have the existing resources? Do we need new resources? What do we have to do? How do we overcome the challenges to the implementation? And challenges could be morale, could be the team motivation, could be more than that, right? It could be that there's some requirement we're not currently meeting, or some regulation that we're not currently meeting that we'll now have to do. So how do we overcome that? How do we have those conversations? How do we improve the team engagement? And think cross-functionally, right? The biggest goal and the biggest trend of these this suite of offerings is cross-functionally. So how do we get engineering to work with production, to work with quality, get HR working together with all of the different functional needs, purchasing, and everybody together? How do we improve that team engagement to really make sure that we're turning that strategy into a result? And we'll learn the keys to long-term sustained execution. So we'll give some tips and tricks there. For those of you who have gone through 5S in the past, you know it's that last S. It's the sustain piece. That's the tricky one, right? You can go through the others pretty quickly. You can make some really great improvements. But if you don't sustain it, it could be a matter of weeks or it could be a matter of months. That area of the floor is going to go right back to the way it is today, because we didn't have those plans in place. We didn't have the proper audit procedures or the proper training to be able to sustain that. So that's a big part of the final push in this translating strategy into results course. So there you have it. We have, again, 6 new courses. We're excited to be able to offer these for management level, and 2 tracks: leadership development track, execution track. You can go for one, you can go for both. And now, since I've done so much of the talking here for a while, I'd like to open it up to whatever questions you may have. And of course, at the end, I'll throw up some contact information, and I welcome you reaching out at any point if anything comes up after you walk away from today. But if you happen to have questions now that I can help you with, please feel free to use the chat feature. What can we do? Okay, we've got a question in the chat. Do we have to do all 6 courses? And is there an order to the courses? So you don't have to do all 6. Okay, you can do the 1 track of 3 leadership. You can do the 1 track of just execution. If you feel that that's where the need is, if you'd like to dip your toes in one and do another one at another time, we can do that as well. Is there an order? The order that I had them listed in the slide is a recommended order, but we can certainly do it in whatever order works for you. I just recommend the translating strategy into results be the final if you're going to go with the execution route. So great question. Great question.
We have another one over here, Chris. How do you know which one works best for what you're looking for?
How do you know which course works best for what you're looking for? So if you'd like, I had the information in the slides here. I can send out what we call the course summaries, and you can take a look at those. They have a lot more detail in terms of what is the course review, what are the outcomes of the course, and feel free to take a look through those. And then you can come back and say, you know what, this looks like more of what we're trying to achieve. What do you think, Chris? Or what do you think, whomever? And we're more than happy to have a call with you, talk through it. What do you need specifically? Which class is the best for you? Always happy to do that. So please feel free to reach out and we can share a little bit more of the information on the courses and talk through your needs together. Are the courses all online or in person? Another great question. We're more than happy to come on site and do those for a small minimum amount of people. We can come on site, do it right in your conference room, your training room, an office. We can do that. We could offer it online if there was a need to have, you know, some folks who are remote, perhaps. We can do it that way as well. So the option is whatever works best for your company. Costs are dependent upon, obviously, the track that you go with, the number of courses, and also the number of people that you're looking to put through these courses. So I would recommend, please feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call, and I'm more than happy to talk about what does that look like, again, based on your needs. Another great question. Do these courses lead to a certification? You will receive, or I should say your participants will receive a certificate at the end of these courses that identify the courses taken. The certificate is co-branded between Polaris MEP and Development Dimensions International. Again, another one of the benefits of this partnership is DDI is internationally recognized. So having that is something that you could say, I'm DDI, I've taken a DDI course and put that on, you know, on some kind of a resume or whatever you might have that shows that you've taken that course. So yes, they will receive a certificate coming out of those courses.
We have a couple direct messages here. How many people from a company should get the training if it's going to be effective?
Well, manufacturing in Rhode Island can go anywhere from a 3-person company to a 300+ company. So you want to look at your management team for this training. In a smaller company, people probably wear many hats. It might be good to have them all go through it. It might be tough to get them to have the time all together in the room to go through it. In other companies, you may look at it in terms of where do we have the most collaboration between our managers? You know, where might we have some issues internally with communication or with getting things passed through or executed? And maybe we want those functional areas represented in the room. So again, best thing to do is to start with a call. Let's talk through some of the challenges and opportunities together, and maybe we can arrive at what the best outcome might be.
Great. Thank you. There's another one here that kind of jumps off of that one. We're a small company, not a lot of mid-level folks. Could I send top leaders?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It applies equally. It applies equally. So top management in the room, it's always a great idea to hear the same message. And I would wholly agree with that. Yes.
Great. And then we have one here. Will you be sending out the prices of the courses for general costs?
I'm more than happy to share all of that with anybody. If you'd like to reach out to me, email, give me a call, let's talk about it. Again, what I'm looking to see is which track are you interested in basically, and what do you think the number of participants might be? And then we can share all of that with you. We can talk through it and talk through how do we make it so that you can come out of it successfully.